please, can you give any tips for interview? So what you mean is the NHS interview. I'm just going to share with you my story.
Look, I'm all around the world. I flip the script just like an acrobatic, bringing in them hits. You would have thought that
I had like 3 interviews and I was very successful in all of them. It's all because I landed on a very good agency that gave me a package, and I could learn the tricks and techniques. I'm just going to share with you a few bits and pieces in that regard. Let's say you've done a lot of applications and fortunately you've landed on a job, an NHS job, and you have been shortlisted for an interview. So this is the very point you have to be very much serious about it, because just as you have been shortlisted for interview, there are other people out there who has also been given the same opportunity. So it's like you are going to compete. Okay, so it's up to you to get your things right. It's up to you to put stuff together and then win the game. The first thing I would advise you to do is that if you have been given a date about your interview, please put that on Google Calendar just in case. Okay, it's just a way to remind you a day before or 30 minutes before the interview, because it did happen to me. I missed the time. So what I'm trying to say is that keep the time right so that I don't miss that interview. The second thing I will say is that you will need a very good internet connection. You need a very good microphone. You don't need to buy microphone from anywhere else, but you can use if you got an earpiece, you can use that. But make sure that most importantly your internet connection is very good, because I had this friend whose interview was curtailed because his internet connection wasn't good. Okay, it stops the flow of the interview and then the employer won't be happy with it. If you're at a place where internet connection is very bad, just make sure that on the day of your interview you are moving to a different location. And I also say that make sure that you set yourself up 5 or 10 minutes before the actual time. It's just a way to prove to the employer that you are punctual. Let the interviewer come and meet you in the meeting. Don't go and meet them in the meeting. Okay, and then once they come in, just give a smile. It's just a way to create a friendly environment. And the last thing I'm going to say, which is very, very, very much important to me, this did help me. Come closer, come closer, come closer, come closer. You see, most of the questions they are going to ask you are practical. They can ask you a question like, what would you do if you see a patient fall? What would you do if a patient tells you that she has been sexually abused? What would you do if a patient tells you something that you're not happy with? Like, all these are practical questions, and you might have met them in your CBT. So just like the practical, starts with the CBT, they are going to ask you. Here, learn to tell a story. Mark that. Learn to tell a story. What do I mean by this? I'm going to show you. Come closer, come closer, come closer. This did help me in all my 3 interviews. In telling a story, you are proving to the employer that you have been in that situation before. So let's say they ask you a question about what happens when you get to realize that your patient's blood pressure is, let's say, 70/50, which means it's low. What should you do as a nurse? Now, in the course of telling a story, you're going to put yourself in that situation as a nurse looking after a patient whose blood pressure is very low. So here you're going to tell a story in such a way that you've managed a patient in such instance before, and then this and this and this are what you did. Okay, these are questions in the CBT you might have made, so you're going to use those answers but just in the practical form. So in this instance, you're going to tell a story. So you can start by saying that maybe about 2 weeks or a week ago you had a patient on your ward whose blood pressure was in a similar range, and in the course of managing it, you first of all had to escalate that to the doctor, and the doctor was happy to prescribe some IV fluid because the patient had no underlying condition that would hinder fluid restriction or something like that. After that, you had to keep monitoring the blood pressure just to make sure that it's not deteriorating, and you also had to reassure the patient and the family, since the family was around, that you are doing everything possible to make sure that the blood pressure is within check. So just tell them what you did in that instance, even though you might not have nursed the patient in a similar condition before, but it's just to prove to them that you know what you're about, because these are some of the few bits and pieces you'll be coming in here to do. So once you tell them that you know your left from your right, it's a plus for you. It puts you ahead of other applicants. So don't just go and then be brainstorming or pouring out the stars in points. Tell a story. Let them know that you've been in that similar situation before, and this and this and this are what you did. Okay, but then just make sure that whatever story you are telling, it's realistic. Okay, especially in the case you've not managed a patient in such instance, like with such condition, make sure it's realistic. And the good thing is that when you talk about this important bit about the situation, then maybe there's 1 or 2 stars left that I didn't mention, they will add up. Okay, and I mean, it's just a way to prove to them that you know what you're about. So I remember I was asked a question that, what would I do if a patient verbally abused me? So as a nurse, how are you going to answer this question? Probably in the course of answering, you have to tell a story. Just let them know that you've been in a similar situation before. It's not been long since I encountered a patient like that. But then as a nurse, I first had to understand their situation. Sometimes they are not acting the way they are acting because they want to. It's because of their condition. So first of all, I understood. I had to listen to her concern. And afterwards, I reported that to my manager that I wasn't really happy, even though I know the patients might have been acting in that situation because of her condition. I also had to do this or write a report about it, an incident report about it, which my manager was happy. And later on, the patient had to come in and apologize, which I mean, I accepted. I gladly accepted and said that I mean, I really understand everything that happened, but it's just that I was just trying to help. So put yourself in a situation, okay? And then the last tip I'll give is that in as much as you speak, be confident. When I had the interview, I had only had 7 months experience. In fact, I was scared. I was going to compare to people who have had like 10 years experience, 20 years experience in the nursing profession and stuff. So my worry was, how would I beat my competitors? My agency told me you have to be confident in as much as you tell a story, in as much as you say your answer, be confident about it, even if it is wrong. Okay, so these are the few bits and pieces I can tell. I've got more which I'll share in my subsequent videos. So these are some of the stuff that I think I can share with you.